Ryan Womack is here this morning with Warren and Griffin, and we are talking actually Social Security disability benefits. If you've ever gone through the struggle of trying to get those benefits coming your way, you know struggle is the operative word. So good to have you here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
I told you when you sat down, I've had this conversation a time or two, and it's always hard for me. And the reason it's hard for me is to realize that people have to wait such a long time.
Yeah, it's frustrating. The Social Security Disability Program is really designed for people that don't have the ability to work anymore. And so what they do is they'll apply for Social Security benefits. It can be things that they've paid into or a system that they paid into for a long time. And the hope is that if they've lost the ability to work, that you would think that things would happen quickly for them since they paid into the system for so long. It just doesn't happen that way.
No. So, okay, let's talk about kind of who a typical candidate is, because you mentioned you have to have paid into the system for a while. So does that mean you have to be a certain age to get the disability benefits?
Well, not really. There's a couple of different types of Social Security disability benefits. There's SSI, which is going to be needs-based, and so to not get too far into the weeds on that, you don't have to have work credits built up. There's also SSDI, which is for people that have worked at least 5 out of the last 10 years. Age can play a huge and crucial role in whether or not you win or lose. Social Security is all based upon rules. And so they're going to look at your age, your education, your background, and your work history, along with your impairments, to determine whether or not you win or lose. When
you say win or lose, that circles back then to why it's important to contact you. Because you have to know the rules of the game in order to win it.
You do. A person who is 25 years old and has been a construction worker for their entire life versus someone who's 55 years old who's been a construction worker their entire life can have two completely different claims, even if they have the same exact medical conditions. And so if you go into a hearing before an administrative law judge, if you're filling out paperwork to the Social Security Administration, you have to be very careful about how that's operating, because your claim can turn based upon those rules that Social Security gives to us.
Sometimes you hear kind of urban myths, and they're very seldom true, but I'll throw one your way that I've heard.
Sure.
Tell me if this is accurate or not, that one of the reasons why there is this delay is that because they're trying to find out if the injury you claim to have is truly there. They want to give it enough time to see if you're being honest or not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that in terms of the timing that they're trying to delay it as much as it's a problem with funding, really. They have too few people reviewing these claims. They have a lot of claims to review. The experience that the people have that are reviewing the claims can be pretty light, and so there can be a delay there. And COVID didn't help things either.
Oh, right, that's right.
COVID put things way far back.
So we're still catching up.
Which was difficult. More importantly, though, is really people's medical records. And it can take time for Social Security, for a law firm sometimes, to get those medical records in for review in order to be determined.
Do people ever come to you and they've already tried on their own and been denied?
Absolutely.
Is that okay? Can you still help them?
Yeah, that's okay. We certainly want to get people in on the front end. It can become a little bit more difficult if people have lost previously, because now we're having to prove that their condition has worsened over time since their last denial. You know, if we were to reapply again and they have the same exact conditions, and they've already been deemed not disabled, then the likelihood of them being deemed not disabled again is pretty high. So we want to see people on the front end as much as we can.
Okay, so back to those medical records. Is it enough for your doctor to deem you disabled? Or does the Social Security Review Board have to deem you that?
Yeah, not really. I mean, your doctor can go a long way. And in fact, if we can get what's called a medical source statement from your doctor, that's helpful. But they won't really want to use generic terms like that they are disabled. Social Security, they're looking for people's functional abilities to work. So their abilities to do things like sitting and standing and walking and pushing and pulling, all the things that you can think of that are required to do a job. Like your job, you have to be able to sit long enough to do it and stand. So.
Has the work from home phenomenon changed things at all?
Not so much in terms of the work from home. Now, there are other jobs that have things like sit-stand options, and so a vocational expert can tell us about those types of jobs, but we haven't seen much of a change in terms of working from home.
I didn't know if that might be something where they might try to claim, well, you don't have to come into the office because you can work now this way, and I didn't know if that was one more hiccup along
Sometimes
the way.
with a vocational expert, they can tell us about what the requirements are of certain jobs, whether that's sitting or standing or walking, and the lifting requirements, but that hasn't changed too much.
What is the time frame on average to get approved?
Yeah, that's the difficult part. All of my clients, I tell them from the outset, we have to remain very patient as we go through this process. If you were to apply for Social Security disability today, it can take up to a year to get a decision back just on your initial application. If you get denied at the initial application part, we will appeal that decision, and by the time that you get to me, when we go before an administrative law judge, that process can be up to 2 years.
And it's pretty common to be denied?
It's very common. Most people do get denied at the outset. Numbers show that you are better off with an attorney. Those numbers are a little bit better.
And the money does come to you in arrears, correct?
Yeah, so you can get what's called back pay. Social Security is making you wait 2 years to go through this process. If you're deemed disabled 2 years prior, then they owe you some money. They haven't paid you for 2 years,
right.
And so that's part of it as well.
All right, so here's where you will find Ryan. He's a very good explainer and wants to make sure you understand everything along the way. So they have the 2 offices right here in Chattanooga. Their new office is down on Carter Street, and now in Cleveland as well. WarrenandGriffin.com is the website. Wasn't such a hard conversation this morning.
You did great.
Thank you. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Boom, 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 boom.